Hello, everybody. I see the attendees are getting into the room. We're starting here in a couple of minutes. We'll just give a minute for everybody to get in. We have a few attendees still coming from the waiting room. Welcome to today's special forum. We have a really cool group of people here today to talk about the changes, what is beyond Google. So you guys know Google has really dominated search for, I don't know what, beyond a decade or two, and things are changing and happening. DBA is trying to bring you some information that's going to be helpful to boost search and visibility for you in these changing times. We also have some tools that we want to introduce, some concepts that we want to talk about today, and just really dig into what's going to be next in local search. My name is Sarah Bryant, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at DBA Platform, where our mission is to get more customers through your doors. You know the DBA Platform is a premier software solution for managing your local presence at scale, right? We all know how big local presence is, and winning visibility in your locations in not just Google, but Bing, Apple, and all the other platforms where consumers are now starting and working through their buyer journey. So we're going to get going on the Beyond Google, and we have a panel of people with us today. I'm going to introduce them in a minute, but as you guys are getting started, our agenda is to talk about some new data accuracy reports in local listings. We also want to talk about the new Apple Business Connect things that are happening. We are going to do our normal Q&A session. We have Jan here as our expert in that. And I want to point out to you a couple things in your webinar administration, your controls today, real quick. The chat that you'll find in your toolbar is really for talking to the administrator of the webinar. If you're having a question about, volume or seeing images or technical difficulties, please use the chat function. Otherwise, our panel is going to take questions today, and you're going to want to pop your questions into the Q&A box. If you open that and launch it right now, you'll see there's no questions in there at the moment. But as soon as somebody puts a question in there, you have the opportunity to upvote that question. And at the end, during our Q&A, we'll take the most popular questions first. We'll sort by that. So if you see something in there that pertains to you, make sure that you upvote that. Go ahead and put your questions in at any time during the webinar. We'll be watching that box, and if you're asking a clarifying question based on something that Jan or Lior or Ryan is talking about, we'll try to address it right in the flow of the webinar today. So let's talk about who is joining us. As you know, we have Jan Gilbert. He is our reigning expert on local search. He is one of the platinum Google people who meets with Google every month, talks to them, and you guys are used to getting your questions answered by Jan. We also have a whole bunch of people here today that maybe you have come across if you've worked with DBA, and that's going to be River Grace, who you've worked with if you've ever worked in sales, talked about a contract, put together a package of tools. You'll have talked to River. Ryan Sandberg is our listings guru. Back in the day when Google first introduced inventory, if you remember, that program was called SWIS, which stands for See What's in Store. And we still to this day call Ryan, instead of Ryan Sandberg, we call him Ryan Swissberg, because he was probably the most knowledgeable person about Google inventory when that was first being piloted. And then we also have with us today Lior, who is our Director of Product Management. And Lior really sort of is the genius behind the tools that DBA puts together in an innovative way. And so when the big behemoth search, industry gurus like Google, Apple, Bing, when they decide how they're going to run algorithms, how they're going to do search, how they're going to rank things, how they're going to put up listings and profiles, they're making changes to that stuff every single week. And then that leaves people like Lior scrambling for solutions on how to make those changes that are happening in the environment. How do we navigate them in different industries? If you're a doctor, if you're a retail store, if you're grocery, if you're automotive, what do these changes mean, and how can you um, navigate? And DBA tries to make tools, connect APIs and make solutions that will help everybody automate the things that they need to be seen. So we're going to start out today, as we do, with Jan talking about some of the latest changes in Google, algorithms and new categories and things like that. And then we're going to jump into what's new in really the whole search environment. Jan, thanks for being here.
Super. Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. How are you? So, yeah, we'll start out with our normal cadence where I talk about the Google bugs and issues that might be affecting you out there. Basically, the main thing, which is not a huge deal, it doesn't impact rankings or listings visibility at all, but it's basically the side panel might be missing on your dashboard if you're looking at your Google profile. You normally you see kind of like a knowledge panel with all of the information on the right-hand side. That is missing a lot of the times now. Google's working on it. It's been like this for a few weeks at this point. Not a big deal. Sometimes if you do a search by putting your business name and a location, it might show up. So it shows up sometimes, not other times. It's kind of annoying because now you can't see your reviews very easily and things like that. You can't add your Q&A very easily, for example. But yeah, just it's more of an annoyance than anything important. And also, not that it matters too much for local, but the school review. So anything that is a school will be uh, getting their reviews removed. But at this point, it's been inconsistent in the sense that Google is blocking any new reviews, but old reviews are still there sometimes, and you won't be able to get those off. So if you're doing anything for like universities or whatever, that you might see old reviews and you can't really do anything about that at this point. So there's a couple minor issues. New categories this month, two more got added. So bartending service and aesthetics service. So those can affect some local businesses. There's other changes that have been made, but nothing that would impact local. And we can keep going. And then still some questions about, is the Q&A section going away? And at this point, no, there's no official announcement from Google, even though it's missing on most of the desktop surfaces. So if you look at a knowledge panel or directly, or if you click through the three pack sometimes, and then it might be there, may not be there. On maps, it's usually there all the time. But at this point, there's nothing official about it going away. So it's still data in your dashboard. Fill it out. Keep on filling it out. Put as much as you can in it, and answer if there's any questions that do come up from the public. But use it like an FAQ at this point, and just pre-fill questions and answer your own questions. So from here, I'm going to transition into a little bit where maybe it's just me, but I don't think it's just me. Like a lot of people are kind of freaking out about the AI, and search is changing so much. And I just want to bring everyone back down, right, a little bit, where even though the AI is kind of like, oh, now we have to check everything because AI is going to be like a person, and it can check your Facebook, and it can check your Yelp, and it can check your YouTube, and it can check reviews on all different places and read everything, right? And you don't know where it's going to be, and AI can check everything at once, basically. And we're all kind of like, oh my gosh, what do we focus? And it also changes a lot on if I do like pizza near me is going to be completely different than best pizza place near me, right? So if I put a modifier like a best or um, a dinner for or lunch place or dinner place, like we're going to get different results. The AI can update depending on very specific queries. But I want to bring us back down and say that the AIs are still using all the information that's already there on the internet, right? So for example, ChatGPT doesn't use Google, ChatGPT uses Bing. And so if you're not showing up in Bing, you're not going to show up in ChatGPT, even for a local query. But how do you show up in Bing? You have to show up in Bing by just your normal website stuff, your normal backlink stuff, your keywords, your citations, directories, all that kind of information is still underpinning everything that AI is using. So it's still important to go through the basics of normal SEO, traditional SEO, and that's where I think I want to lead into the rest of all what we do here at DBA Platform, all our normal traditional tracking and data reporting, and just remind everyone that, yeah, AI is going to be the new thing, but AI has to take the information from somewhere. And whether it's getting it directly, or if it's getting it from Google, or if it's getting from Bing, Google and Bing and Apple still have to get their information from somewhere. So we have to check that kind of stuff. We have to track that stuff. We have to implement our optimizations on all those kind of things. And that's where automation is really going to help you because yes, it's going to be hard to track everything manually. So you need to automate as much as possible.
So we just did some research and we saw that Google searches over the last year has been declining, and that's sort of throwing a lot of things into disarray because if you're an agency or if you're just, the person who's in charge of SEO for your location, what you might be noticing is that your results are declining, even though you might be doing lots of things to increase your visibility. Google search on its own is diminishing in market share. So now it's becoming harder to see, are the changes that you're doing actually working? So the only way to see that is to understand how much search volume is available in any channel, how much of it you're getting, and how much your competitors are getting. So this is getting a lot more complicated. Google has always had the lion's share of search, somewhere in the 90 percentile, and that is diminishing. Now, like Jan was saying, part of that is because where people's sort of psychological knee-jerk reaction used to be to Google everything, now we have a lot of sort of in-app search or what's called zero-click search, where people are they're in something, like they're in Instagram, they're in Apple Maps, or they're in even ChatGPT will give you links. So if you're doing some research and you're researching cars and ChatGPT gives you a breakdown of a Subaru versus a Honda, it might also provide you with the links to go and check those places out. And it's bypassing the normal sort of search engine. So what this tells us is that search is becoming like more integrated into the things that people are doing. It's happening more in-app than ever before. And what does that do for you as the person who's supposed to be optimizing a location? Well, it just makes everything a lot more complicated. And the younger generations are going to have less of an inclination to use Google and to go directly to Google to find, the links and destinations that they're looking for. So as consumer behavior shifts, and you can see here, automotive searches in Google are down 23%, grocery 20%, across the board, it's kind of 20%. And so then you say, okay, well, what is happening in citation management? What is it that we need to do? And so citation management is still critical because having all of the information, I kind of think about it this way. When businesses, 30 years ago, when there was no internet, you had a brick and mortar location and you might put out some ads in the yellow pages and maybe some flyers, in mailboxes and things like that, pointing to your brick and mortar store. When we got a virtual landscape, the internet, then we started creating virtual stores, and that's a website. But we still use the same types of marketing, antics to try to get people to that location. So what we did is we put out ads and we put out maybe some, placards or what we call profiles out on Google and different places, still thinking that we're going to try to push people to our websites. And now today, what we're really doing is we're kind of almost making mini versions, mini digital versions of our information, and we're putting them in different places. So instead of these being pointers, they now actually sort of represent you all across the internet. So citation management is still important. It's becoming more and more important as all of the clicks are going away. People are not going to websites. And so we still need the citations, but now we just need more of them, and they need to be concise, accurate, and consistent. This is getting harder and harder. And the reason that this still matters is because it's always going to be a ranking factor. No matter who's deciding, whether it's Google, Apple, Bing, AI, they're going to look for who's got the most trustworthy information. If your information doesn't match in all the different places that somebody's collating information from, then it doesn't look like you're a trustable location. So we need this consistency, and this consistency is almost sort of ridiculously manufactured, right? So inconsistencies can be things like how you put your street name, whether you write out north or if you put just the initial N. If you moved suites or you have different tracking phone numbers, it's almost artificial how much consistency there needs to be. But if you don't have that, then you're losing some of your ranking factor. But also there's the consumer aspect where the customer's got to see kind of the same message from one place to the next as they research your offerings. And if you can have everything be consistent, you're going to be more visible, more discoverable. It's going to boost your voice everywhere. And if you think about it, like we're sort of talking about places that you can search like by typing, but then we have the smart assistants who are also, Siri and Alexa, that are pulling information from these places as well. So all of the data needs to be correct, and your website is no longer the source of that data. It's what we call citation management. So
I just want to interject, sorry, is a lot of people are saying that citations don't matter as much, and that might be true for Google because Google is the most sophisticated search out there, but Bing is a few years behind. Apple just got into local, right? So it's kind of like citations were becoming less important as Google was rising, but now it's actually citations are becoming more important again because Bing is becoming more important, because Apple is becoming more important, and they're not as sophisticated as Google. They still go back to all these other sources and backlink sources, data sources to pull information. So I just wanted to make sure people understand, because yes, for Google not quite as much, but for Bing and Apple, it's more important again. So that's why we're reminding everyone at this point, like, hey, don't forget these traditional things.
Now, if you've worked at all with Ryan Sandberg, he knows and can talk about the woes of trying to manage your profiles and keep everything consistent and understanding like, am I doing a good job? Your profiles get put into re-verification, they get shut down. We get calls all the time. Please help, because a lot of our leads come through these profiles, and right now, our profile is disabled, and it's hampering our business. So there are a lot of struggles with trying to put out your profiles and then keep them like up, not to mention optimized so that they're at the top of the search when the consumers, who are looking for your products are searching. So, you're going to have issues with trying to keep that data consistent, updating it, because updating it regularly with posts and photos and things is another signal to the search engines that you're on top of your stuff and that your data is likely to be correct. So you got to update all these individual locations. Now you've got third parties interfering with that. I'm sure you guys have seen that, where your crowdsourced information is going into your profile, and that's messing with the truth, and it's changing, it's making things inconsistent, and it's not right. And now you're getting lower search volume because you don't have consistency. Duplicate listings is something that happens all the time. How many of you have faced that, having a duplicate listing and trying to merge listings? And as you have more and more of these places, what I call placards of your brick and mortar business, as you have more of them, it just creates more and more complexity for managing them. Never mind that you don't have a lot of visibility into, like, is everything correct? Is there a problem? Until you see that you're in re-verification or your whole profile has been disabled. So it's time consuming, it's manual, you can't see what you're doing, and uh, it's not centralized in any way to see where everything is, what it is, and if it's working. So here's the simple things that you have to be asking yourself. For my local search, for the citations and the profiles, are they working? Are there errors? How do I fix them? Am I better than my competitors? And then how can I prove this to the locations that I'm doing all this work for? And these are the questions that we hear at DBA every day. Like I nobody knows, how is it working? What does it look like? Where are the errors? How do I fix them? In fact, at DBA, and we have access to Google, Microsoft, Apple, we have meetings with them. We get to ask them these questions, and we still, have difficulty getting to the bottom of all the problems that happen as these things are emerging and changing and innovating every day. So what DBA was trying to figure out is, how can we find all the problems in your listings across all of the different environments that you're going to be in? Is there a way that we can auto fix the consistency of your profiles? If we can't fix it, there's some things that we can't fix remotely. If you don't know your password, I can't help you with that. There are things that the DBA can't fix, but we can instruct you how to correct. We can give you the right information to do something correctly. Maybe if there's time later, I'm gonna have Sandberg tell the story about when he tried to get some profiles up for Apple and for Google, and the mistakes that you can make by doing things out of order and completely shutting down your entire operation to put up your profiles. If you don't have the instructions on how to do these things correctly and how to correct when things are wrong, you risk putting yourself sort of out of business online. And then how can we monitor these changes over time for everybody? How can we track who did what? How many of you guys have called us and said, hey, somebody made a change. Somebody made a change. And we say, who made the change? Did you guys make it? Did a third party make it? And the answer is, you don't know. So how do we track who did what? And then how can we report how much of this activity is happening on a daily, weekly, monthly basis in your stuff? Because if you do this kind of work, if you do SEO, if you do like profile management, you know that everybody who's looking at what you're doing says, oh, that was easy. What did you do? You filled out the name, the phone number, the address, and everything should be working for all time, right? But that is nowhere near the reality of what happens with these profiles and how much activity it takes to keep them straightened out. So these are the questions, and these are the sort of obstacles that we are looking at to try to create something that will ease all of this sort of confusion around profile management. And we have a bunch of new reports that are rolling out. And now I know reports don't sound, super sexy. Our sales team was like, I'd love to show people something that has this looks more like a sports car. But when you see what these reports are going to do for you, you're going to say, oh, wow, yes, nobody has that. We need that, because this is going to prove once and for all that what I'm doing is working. What I'm doing is better than what my competitors are doing. And for all the people that you guys answer to, you can show, here's exactly what is happening. Here's why it's happening. And here's how much work has gone into making this the best that it can be. So I'm gonna have Ryan Sandberg explain a little bit, and Lior, Luke, River, feel free to jump in and talk about what our new accuracy report is doing, to kind of make visible what you're doing in your profiles.
Yeah, that was a great appetizer to these new reports. Super exciting stuff. And with this accuracy report, now you're going to be able to really see, okay, are all my locations connected to these core destinations, Google, Apple, and Bing? So you'll be able to see a good summary of that, and what's been enabled, what's been synced to Google, and what are those issues. And then it also goes out into an accuracy summary with these pie charts that show, okay, well, what's matching between Google and DBA. And then also there'll be a mismatch and a missing part in that. But with this screenshot, they're all matching. And those missing and mismatching parts will also be broken out into separate reports. So we do have a mismatch report and a missing report. So if, there's an address or missing, or hours missing, or if they're mismatching between Google and DBA, that will be available to you as well. And it does get down into detail by location. Um, so this is really just going to be able to show you, instead of manually kind of going in one by one, you're going to see it all readily available to you, to make sure that all this data is consistent, because Google, like Sarah and Jan have mentioned, Google's looking for that consistency in your NAP info, across the board.
If you're managing a bunch of locations, the worst thing that can happen is somebody calls you up and says, hey, my stuff is down, and you're like caught flat-footed. This report shows you exactly how many locations you have, which ones are enabled, and it can be sent to you every single day to show you a score and say, oh, look you have 79 enabled and 78 are synced. So you have one syncing issue, one that doesn't, one that needs some attention. And we sort of scrubbed the location names, over here in the sync summary and the accuracy detail by location. So you'd be able to see all of your locations, whether they're active. But this is not just checking Google. We're checking, multiple platforms to make sure that everything is consistent and it's live, it's synced, right? So how many times have you had somebody say, oh, our stuff hasn't synced in 12 days? That's never going to happen again.
Yep. And this account activity report, I am really excited about, because I work and do this a lot with a lot of locations, and a lot of things we're changing a lot of things. And for this report, you'll now be able to see, okay, what is DBA automatically changed? And that's on the left. So, one key thing with that report is, if you see that DBA is, let's say we're constantly changing hours, that's where those third party or user suggested edits come in. And so you're like, well, okay, I keep seeing that Google's or DBA is changing this a lot. So you can get ahead, of your client. When that client reaches out to you and says, hey, why do my hours keep changing? You'll be able to now see that, hopefully before the client sees it. So again, you'll be able to see what DBA is changing on our side. And then even better, you'll be able to see what is being changed on your end as well. So these user edits that are being done in DBA. So when one of your employees or someone that has access to DBA makes all these changes, you can see who, when, and to what did they change. And the good thing about that is, you get reached out about, I need it's Christmas, I got to get 1,000 hours updated, I got to get this updated. And so now you'll be able to show your client that, hey, we've done all this for you. We've changed 30 categories, we've done 500 different hours, and so that's something that now you'll be able to show, okay, well, what have we changed, and what also has DBA automatically changed for you that wasn't supposed to change.
I just want to point out to everyone, Google doesn't have a data log like this. We've built this from scratch because we're connected to the API. Google doesn't have anything like this. I actually had a meeting. We had a thing yesterday. We were discussing, if they are going to build it, it's going to be a year, 2 years away. Like it's something that they might do, but they don't have it now. So this is super important. Who did what on my account? A manager? Was it someone else? I lost access. Who changed something? It's all going to be written out for you. It's super important because you don't have this from Google automatically.
And when you have, I don't know what they're called, third-party data aggregators or something, who are pushing changes to your profile, and so how many hours does it take to figure out that that's what's happening if you have no logs showing? You just, you wake up every day and something has changed, and you go, who changed it? right? And you start thinking, okay, it's somebody internally, maybe it's crowdsourced. No, actually, it's like an old connection that you have to some other data aggregating service and you had no idea. So, I mean, weeks get lost in trying to figure out what's going on. So this, this will show you here's where the change got made. And the other thing is, if you manage locations as an agency or a department, I mean, I would want to show this and say, look, this is how many changes got made to optimize your profile this month. This is how many things were done in here. Now, DBA is going to be doing a lot of them automated for you, going to be fixing things in the background that are like just kind of known problems. But those will count here. So it'll look like you're doing all the heavy lifting and, there's movement here. This is not set it and forget it. This stuff is being actively, looked at and optimized.
And this report here is going to basically just kind of tell you, okay, there's problems with syncing. And what it's going to do is tell you what is the problem and how to fix it. So
I see we redacted the whole thing there just to protect the privacy of the innocent syncing issues on a location. But normally this would tell you what the issue is and give you a link to an article that tells you how to fix that, how to do the right things in the right order, not to get yourself, defunct.
Yep. So instead of not knowing, how to fix it, this can say, okay, well, your social media profile URL is invalid. It'll give you a link on how to fix that. And then you can go in and fix that and resolve the issue. And it'll also tell you, the issues with the core directories as well.
All right, so this is sort of an overview of the things. Now, we can really get into, if you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the question and answer box. We can get into, like, there's a lot more in these reports, how to use it, how to, but this is really the first tool. Nobody has anything like this to give you visibility into what's happening in these locations across all of these, major profiles. And on top of that, we built an extra feature that River is going to talk about, which is the new audit tool, which has some pretty cool utility too.
Oh yeah. So yeah, everything Ryan went over was essentially when you have the product activated. This is what I'm pretty excited about because this is going to be based off of all the agencies and people that are going after new prospects and clients. So these kind of tools have been out for a while, but we went out and created our own from scratch, kind of looked at what was on the market, what's been around. And it's super easy to use. So essentially you would just go to the audits tab, type in the business name. It's going to come up. You select the business connected to Google Places. So it's just going to populate from Google's API, Google Places API. As soon as you click the business, you just hit run scan. It'll take a couple minutes so you can bounce out of the screen, go do whatever you got to do, come back to it. And once it's completed, then you will be able to open it up and it will then show you, because we're pulling from, just like the accuracy report that Ryan went over, we're actually pulling directly from the actual search results. So we're not using like only the Google, Apple, and Bing APIs. We're actually scraping the actual live search results to see what they have on their profiles and what we have in our system to compare. So Google, Apple, Bing, I think Facebook's going to be down the line, but those are the top three that we're kind of focused on right now, especially with all the movement Apple has. So, you run the scan, it takes a couple minutes, you open it up, and now you're able to have something and come to the meeting for any prospect or, potential new client, whether it's a single location or multi-location. We do have the capability to do bulk scans. So you want to go after a huge franchise, like come to the table with 1,000 locations, when you get into the tool, it'll show you, all you need to do is put in an Excel sheet with a couple different fields. It literally walks you through the process. There's 2 or 3 fields, throw it in, bulk scan it. Might take a little while, but at least you'll be able to come to the table, to multi-location and show every single location kind of where they're ranking, what's incorrect on their profiles, and just instant things that can get your foot in the door to be able to fix. Like, these are guaranteed things that we can fix. It is not hard. We just have to send the information and make sure that the directors accept it, at the end of the day. So this is kind of like everything that Ryan went out was like, once the product is activated, this is a little bit more like pre-sales, kind of a sales enablement prospect tool. But either order, whether you have active licenses with us now and you want to use like the data accuracy and the logging report, and then use this to go get new clients, or if you're kind of starting up and you don't have that many clients, this is going to be a great tool to get your foot in the door and have a conversation with someone, and then upsell into additional products and services that your agency or company offers.
So Raleigh asked a question saying, this is exciting. When will these beta reports be available? And so they're in beta now, and we're getting ready. Lior, I don't know if you have a date when you expect this to be like widely available.
So
I responded to her.
I just want to give everybody the benefit of hearing the answer to that question.
Yeah. So hi everyone. First of all, it's already available. It's just need to be toggled on the user permissions, and then they will be able to see it. On purpose, we didn't auto-enable that. One thing I want to add regarding this audit tool is you have a share link that your prospect basically don't need to have access to our platform. It's accessible. And the next step we are working on is the OAuth connection that would be assigned under your account. So we will basically help you close the full loop if the client click to continue.
Meaning that they could just basically sign up for services based on the audit?
Yep, under the agency.
Under the agency, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Completely.
So, I mean, this is a super easy, the audit tool is a subset of the massive reporting engine that's happening sort of behind the scenes, but it's pretty. It points out locations that need some serious help. And then, from there, you can actually just have a button that says, click to fix all this stuff, and that'll be automated through DBA platform. So this kind of visibility is crazy. I know I want to be able to do my job and not have people calling me, telling me something went wrong, and then me go fix a fire. I want to be preemptively seeing the stuff, be able to see a report every day, see that everything is as it should be. If something gets changed, I want to be the guy that figures out why it got changed, what happened, and then to be able to just bundle up a report and say, here's the 10,000 things I did this month. Keep paying me to optimize your stuff to stay visible. And this audit tool sort of makes that super seamless. Okay, the last thing, I just want to give a little bit of a little teaser for the Apple Business Connect stuff that's happening. When Apple Business Connect first came out, a lot of people ran out and claimed profiles. Not a lot was happening there, but interestingly, when you go out and do stuff on Bing, stuff on Apple, it's what they call blue ocean, right? Like the sharks are all in, tearing up, being competitive, and creating bloody waters in one spot. You swim out to blue ocean, there might not be as much there, but what is there is yours for the taking. That's what sort of happened early on with Apple and Bing, which was nice. So you're kind of getting the older users, the people who are more beholden to their iPhones and things like that. So you kind of know what kind of customer that is. But recently, Apple has made some huge inroads into search and local search, and we're going to talk more about that. But there's a lot of reasons why Apple is getting more and more into the local search space. If you think that the Google Business Profile is hard to manage, wait until you see what is happening with Apple. And I'll tell you, DBA partners with Apple, we meet with them regularly. twice a month, they come and they ask us, how does this work? How does it work in Google? How can we make it more seamless? And it's so new, it's sort of the Wild West. But doing things right is important. Ryan Sandberg can tell you that we had a really skilled SEO person go out and try to enable some Apple business profiles. Things were done out of order and kind of off the assembly line. It was a nightmare, to get that stuff fixed. So we went and got all the instructions from Apple, found that they really didn't put together a step-by-step explanation of how to do this. So DBA sort of took over and did a pilot, and we created this whole ABC, how to claim your listings, how to optimize your listings. So we have some stuff coming out, and we just wanted to sort of show you like what the Apple Business Connect listing looks like. We have some education for you on this, what an unclaimed listing looks like, how to know if it's unclaimed, because if you're an agency, this is the next new thing that needs to be done, is going out and getting your Apple Business Connect profiles claimed and optimized. It's an easy thing, but again, new and not foolproof. But when you have a claimed and optimized listing, you get so much more functionality, and this stuff happens straight through Apple Maps and other integrated places where people are finding your business. And this is a webinar on its own, but I just wanted to kind of give you a teaser of what's happening with Apple Business Connect and let you know that we are doing a beta right now we have things in the works that only Lior could explain around OAuthing into this and simplifying this for your locations. So that's going to be happening, but we do need some volunteers if they want to raise their hands to do a beta with us on the things that we've already built. So if you're interested in doing that, you can reach out to Luke in the chat, or you can reach out to River, or anybody, any contact that you have at DBA platform. And we'd love to, if you're interested in going through, always with a beta, there are bumps and bruises, but you're sort of the first person in that blue ocean. You get the advantage of, just picking up the clients that are sitting there, ready to be, ready to buy. So, Lior, I didn't give you a chance probably to say too much. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add, or if anybody wants to add. I know we went through a lot of stuff, and we have a lot of utility coming out. This is sort of an introduction to it today. So if I missed any big points, let me know.
So I would just say that, especially with Apple Connect, we have a really close relationship with them, and we actually changed a few processes that they were doing before, just to improve the whole process, because it was like impossible to upload an image, for example. Like the amount of verification and checks on the image was like as if they are checking your ID or something, like insane. So they actually changed all of that, and we are going to get access to all their beta features before they even go live. So even now we are checking a few things. I can't actually tell you what's going on. We are under NDA, but it's going to be very interesting. So that's it.
All right. I see. Well, I got one question from somebody actually by text, which is asking about the audits, if those can be sent out white label, or how those will go out. I know that they can be sent out white label. I know that you can send them to customers that are not signed up for your services or ours. River,
Yes.
do you have, or Lior?
I have an answer for that. Yes.
Yeah.
So phase 2, what we are actually working on right now is the OAuth. Like I explained before, that they will connect their location under the agency that send them the invite, and the actual email template with the PDF included to share the report with the client, and yes, white labeled.
Perfect.
Something you can start now, getting ready for Apple, if you're going to be connecting that, is Apple regularly pulls in Yelp reviews. because they don't have their own native reviews like Google. So tell your clients or start paying attention to Yelp as well, because that's going to help you. If you're going to be the first, around with your Apple listings, you want them to have good reviews on them. So think ahead. That's the next step.
I see there are some questions that got answered in the Q&A box. Somebody asked, can the audit be exported as PDF? And River says, yes. How long does it take to run an audit scan? Lior answered that one, takes about 2 to 4 minutes. Will there be a recording of this webinar shared later or on your Facebook page? Yes, if you enrolled in the webinar, you'll receive the recording. And what was the other one? I thought I saw one more. Oh, it's probably here. Is it possible to run multiple locations at once? Yes. Eve asked, will the dashboard include Apple Business Connect as well in the audits?
In the audits, so now when we check in the Apple location, we are going directly to Apple, to the website, to the search, and getting the real data. Apple Connect will be included in the UI from start to finish. Everything that Apple Connect offers will be included in our UI. So yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? And if you have questions for Jan on the normal sort of local search things, you can throw those in too. Or we will unprecedentedly end the webinar early. That would be the first time ever, right, Jan?
Yeah, usually there's a lot more questions.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, I'm excited. I'm excited by all these changes. And we don't normally sell ourselves, to be honest, on webinars, at least not the ones that I'm on. But these were features that I felt were super important, and the whole team. So these are important things that we need to share with our customers here that will make their lives easier, and also groundbreaking new things, like Lior was saying. We're connecting to Apple where no one else has that kind of connectivity yet. So you're going to get there ahead of everyone, and reporting ahead of everyone. I think it's super important because we do our work, but oftentimes it's hard to show that work, right? We work for our clients, and like we did all these things, but now we have to show our clients that we did all these things. Not half of it, but a bunch of our work is proving that we did our work and we did our work properly. And so this is part of the reporting where we're trying to help you help yourself by making the reporting more easy.
So here's a philosophical question. Daniil asked, what's your stance on Google's AI mode? Stance is a weird way to put it, but
yeah. So I mean, the AI overview. So I mean, that's still pulling a lot of information still from organic. So if you're ranking in the regular 10 blue links, you have a much higher opportunity to be showing up in the AIOs. So again, still what I talked about at the beginning is there's a lot of new features coming out, whether it's AI or Google, they're adding a lot of new things, but they're still built on the old things. And so they're just rearranging it and getting it in a different way. But the data sources haven't changed. The data sources are still third-party websites, third-party reviews, everything that we've been doing forever. It's going to be less so your own website. So it's not going to be as much, let's keyword stuff and let's tweak a little sentence here and tweak. Like that's going to become less important. But the data source in general is still important. Maybe not the exact way things are worded like it was before. So it's actually going to become less technical, less like technically phrasing where we have to play around with the content as much, because that part's going to become less
more
important on
inferred.
your website, at least on your website. But everywhere else, it might become more important.
Follow-up question to that is, do you think that Google will ever bring forth any way to track traffic from the AI overview?
I mean, I'm sure they will if we put enough pressure as SEO and we keep asking them. Usually, Google, like the tracking for us, Google doesn't care. Google doesn't care about marketers. They care about their end user. And so helping, and you know, Google keeps taking things away. They're like, Search Console used to show us so much more, and now it keeps removing and removing, right? So when Google is going to deem it important enough to give us that information, who knows? But yeah, we can't really speculate.
So Evan wants to know, why is Google unverifying everyone?
I mean,
wouldn't we like to know?
yeah,
I
mean,
would
that goes
love
in
to know
waves.
that.
That goes in waves. Go ahead, Ron. I didn't hear what you said.
Sandberg would be able to sleep at night if we could, if Google would just tell us the quick and easy answer to that.
Google
Yeah.
doesn't know even.
Yeah, Google doesn't know.
I think that's true. In many cases, that's what the product experts are for. When we meet with Google, we're like, "Hey, Google, did you notice that this stuff was happening?" And they're like, "Oh, really? Oh, we'll look into that." Because sometimes we're the eyes for them. They, you know, the engineers, they're doing stuff. They have small testing grounds, but then the real world is a little bit different than their testing.
So Eve has a question back on, excuse me, Apple Business Connect, noting that it connects with Yelp for photos and reviews. What are the best practices for Yelp local listing optimization? Can't we skip Yelp and just do your own optimization in ABC?
I mean, you can add pictures to Yelp. There's a Q&A section on Yelp that you can, I think, try to fill out. Or Yelp is a little bit harder. It's harder to manipulate because they'll scrub things more easily. You know, lots of reviews get scrubbed from there. But try your best. I think it's just putting more at this point. Put images. Make sure your description matches or is very similar to your description on your Google profile and everywhere else. But just consistency at this point. If you can't do anything else, just consistency, and you can always add images and add Q&A.
And you don't have the only reason that you're getting the Yelp stuff populated is because you didn't go in, claim the profile, and create your own stuff in the Apple Business Connect profile. So once you do that, I mean, you control the content that's in that profile. You don't have to do it through Yelp.
No, I think
I would
I
just
think
add to
reviews
that.
Go ahead, Leo. Sorry.
So from our platform, you just need to create the company on Apple. And when you connect it to us, you can create the brands, create the locations, create everything under that. Images, everything can be controlled from our platform, and including posts and images and keywords. And in our process, when you add an image, our process will automatically generate the keyword that we think are fit, and you will be able to edit them. So we are adding a lot of improvement to the process regarding the SEO to increase it as much as possible. And we have like a lot of insight tips from Apple regarding that, like how they will prefer something over something else. So we are doing that part as well. So I think once you will verify the location and create the images, Yelp will actually show the real information and images that you are basically adding.
So don't forget, we have the beta going on. If you're interested in you know, sort of testing out how that's all going to work and help us be a user in the Apple Business Connect stuff, you know, let River know, or whoever your contact at DBA is. And then if you have any other questions about this stuff, the private Facebook group is the link is in chat. We're standing by to let you in because it's a closed group, but if you do it right now, we'll let you in. You can add questions there. You'll get the recording to the webinar. And I think we have one more question, so we'll end on this question. But before we go, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here and talking a little bit about the things that are happening. Each of these things is going to get its own full webinar to completely walk through and explain, but everything's in beta right now, and we wanted to show you what's going on, give you a taste of what's coming, kind of explain just the
landscape of what's going on in local search and how we're addressing it with these different companies. It's kind of an interesting time to get a competitive advantage right now. So I think we're trying to push out information faster than we normally do. All right, last question. Eve, since ABC connects with Yelp, oh no, I asked this one.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, we don't have a last question. So thank you, Lior, River, Ryan, Jan. Thank you everybody for attending, and we'll see you on the next one.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.